Velocity, morning, peace, and blessings. All right, so yeah, when it comes to combustion, when it comes to any planet that conjuncts the sun, right? It's not that the combustion is just fully bad or the planet is completely burnt up. You know what I'm saying? The qualities of the planet no longer exist. You feel me? It's not that extreme, right? To be honest, from my observation, it's damn near a blessing in a way. You feel me? You gotta remember the sun is the king, right? Who doesn't want to be around the king, right? Now, granted, the king can kind of be arrogant. The king can be a bit of an asshole. The king can, you know, be a bit self-centered and all these different things. But moral of the story, if you're in the king's courtship, if you're if you have a close enough proximity to the king, right, you can definitely very much so expect the quality of your life to be elevated and for you to have access to certain resources that most individuals would never be able to obtain, right? So that's one particular point, right? Just a little general point or whatever. But getting on to the next, when it comes to the process of king making, when it even comes to the sign of Leo, which is the natural fifth house of the zodiac, we look at we look at Leo, we look at the natural fifth house of the zodiac as the sign of good past life karmas, right? Good punya and whatnot, right? Things that are handed to us, through our ancestral lineage, or you feel me, through our genetic blessings and gifts, and you feel me, all of these things that are pretty much passed down and encoded into us to make us great beings. You feel me? And the purpose of a king, the purpose of a father even is to be blessed by the ancestors, be blessed by the forefathers, be blessed by the ones that came before with the proper knowledge, with the proper mindset, skill set, intelligence, speculative ability. You know what I'm saying? The ability to govern your own nation, state, household, whatever you want to call it. Given the wisdom, the knowledge, and the ability to pretty much be a father unto a nation of people or unto your household or whatever, and call shots correctly, right? And you're doing this, a king does this or a father does this ultimately to raise the people, to raise the kids, to make a better tomorrow. You feel me? A better future. Just to set proper rules, guideline, guardrail, set proper direction for the little ones, right? That's the purpose of sun. You know what I'm saying? That's what a father does, as sun represents the father, right? You feel me? As all of this is also represented by the sign of Leo, which is the natural fifth house of the zodiac, right? So all of these things kind of coincide. So getting back to what I was saying, right? The sun factor, right? The planet that's combusting the other planets, right? Sun is a father. The purpose of the sun is to pretty much bring more life and more excellence into those that depend upon him. Sun is a giver of instruction. You know what I'm saying? The light code, the heat, you feel me? The radiation, you feel me? The different invisible signals that we receive from the sun or whatever, it's all intelligence, it's code. You know what I'm saying? It's law that when it's emitted upon a planet, you feel me, when it hits your skin, when it gets into your hair follicles, you feel me, when it flows through your body, it awakens certain gene expressions, it awakens certain innate intelligences within you, it awakens certain, you feel me, things within the environment or whatever to become stronger, to become strengthened, to become more energized, to operate and procreate properly, right? And pretty much just to make shit better. This again is the function of the father, is the function of the king. So from a combustion perspective, when sun comes into contact with any of the planets, you can often see a lot of the time this planet stands out within the individual in some type of way. These people are definitely blessed in some type of way when it comes to this planet. Doesn't necessarily even, it don't even too much matter about, you know what I'm saying, if the planet is debilitated or the planet is afflicted by something else. If it's conjunct the sun, you can very much so guarantee there's something that you can say about this planet that has been blessed and that shines as an excellence of some sort, right? Now, the downside of the combustion and what often leads to the affliction, right, is the ego principle. The purpose of the son, the purpose of a king, the purpose of the father is to pretty much serve the dependents and grow them in a proper way. You feel me? Make sure they don't deviate from truth. They don't deviate from righteousness. They don't deviate from law. Make sure they stay aligned with order. You know what I'm saying? And make sure they have the proper food and the proper sustenance they need in order to sustain themselves. Right? You wanna be stern as a father. You feel me? You want to be stern as a king, but at the same time, you want to be a servant and you want to be loving and you want to, you know what I'm saying? You want to be an authority, but it's also love too at the same time, right? But where sun starts to deviate from its own natural function when I become more of the importance than the environment, that's around me. Or, when the king sees his own identity, his own self, his own popularity, you feel me? When the king becomes self-enamored and it's no longer about properly taking care of the affairs of the kingdom, or when the father feels like, you know what I'm saying, this is my house, you feel me? I put a roof over y'all motherfucking head. FTK, fuck them kids. I should be eating first. You know what I'm saying? I don't need no back talk from my bitch. I just need you to wash dishes, whatever the fuck, right? When the father sees his own importance and his own identity as separate and higher than the others, you feel me? Classism, racism, elite, you feel me? Like, you know how the elites pretty much feel like they're above and do all this corrupt, chaotic, devil, evil ass shit or whatever. These are expressions that derive from improper sun functioning astrologically and whatnot, right? So yeah, sun can definitely deal with the ego problem. It can definitely fuck around and start to express itself in a way which pretty much becomes prideful and haughty. And whatever planet the sun is conjunct, you can pretty much see a person might have a potentiality to become egotistical, prideful, or area in relation to the significations of that planet. Right? And when that starts to happen, you can see these people very much so suffer a great deal due to whatever significations that planet represents once again, right? So if it's Venus, I've seen many women, that look good, you know what I'm saying? Beautiful, body, face card, you know what I'm saying? Can sing or whatever, right? All well put together, all that or whatever, right? But for some reason are unable to keep a man or are unable to really sustain a relationship process or whatnot, right? Her vanity might be too important for herself, right? Her heart's desire for the Venusian principle you know what I'm saying, for the romantic relationship, marriage, situation, dynamic, or whatever you want to call it, is overshadowed, or not overshadowed, is outshined by the ego's need to be satiated and fueled or whatnot. And Sun Venus, I've seen, you know what I'm saying, women, and it's both sexes as well. It's, you feel me? It's both genders or whatever. But I've seen these people for some reason deal with cheating, being unable to keep relationships or sustain relationships for very long amounts of times or whatever. And what else? Yeah, just being burnt in those type of ways and whatnot, right? And to solve that, a person would really just have to keep the ego out of the relationship process. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with looking good. It's nothing wrong with presenting yourself in a certain way. It's nothing wrong with you feel me, beauty, love, art, finance, accumulation, wealth, material things, and yada yada yada, etc. etc. Is just don't let it define, you know what I'm saying, the character of your soul or who you really are, because that inevitably will lead to ruin and whatnot, right? Sun Saturn. Let me see if I can think of somebody with a Sun Saturn. These are usually cruel motherfuckers, right? I've said like Sun Saturn people, criticizers can be deep criticizers, can be they don't necessarily have to be evil, to be honest. Sun Saturn can be people who like to have somewhat of a strict sense of code, or you know, a strict sense of carrying themselves in a certain way. You feel me? Being disciplined in a certain way. You feel me? Operating by a certain code. And Saturn and Sun are both grahas that try to be righteous at the end of the day. But you feel me? When Saturn and Sun comes together, it can highlight demoniac potentialities or expressions, especially if a person starts to get too egotistical within the Saturn bag. The Sun Saturn can for sure make a motherfucker have strong hatred for for either other races, own race, sometimes the clan or the background that you came from, or you just, for whatever the fuck weird reason, are able to hold strong level, deep level disdains, right? But this is something that you don't want to do, because, you feel me, this combustion is definitely going to lead to karmic displays that I guess this person would rather not endure, right? Sun Saturn, and that's just a little tip in the bud. I might do a video later on going through in-depth conjunctions or expressions about these particular planets. Sun Jupiter, right? And before I say this one, right? As a king, as a father, what you do or your role is pretty much a 24/7 type of role. So it's like, one thing about the sun doesn't get to turn off and you know what I'm saying, go to the 80 millionth dimension, or you know what I'm saying, that one dimensional space that's so far away from the confinements of this universe that us human beings aren't even able to conceptualize such a state of reality, or whatever the fuck, right? The sun is not able to go to sleep, or you feel me, take a day off, or you know, book a hotel, give a bitch some back shots, and you feel me, drink some tea, or you feel me, drink some matcha. You feel me? Like all the white bitches is doing nowadays. Matcha is the shit, right? The sun is not able to just kick his shoes off and relax and enjoy the fruits of his labor, as we humans are sometimes, right? The sun must keep going. It must keep operation, and it keeps the operation constant. You feel me? Regardless of how many people is on earth eating each other butt cracks, putting tongues in the deepest of spaces possible, regardless of who's doing the most demonic activity, or regardless of who's praising the sun and worshiping the sun from sun up to sundown or whatever, regardless of good, bad, regardless of like dislike, the sun maintains constant propulsion in motion and making sure our section of the solar system is receiving light so that we can live and exist upon this planet, right? So the sun is constant, a father is constant, a king's role is constant, it's 24/7. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about this particular junction, and why when sun comes into contact with Jupiter, Jupiter is not only combust, but Jupiter is stambana, right? Because Jupiter is the one who's trying to leave the earthly plane, or he's trying to leave the duality. He's trying to leave the illusion. He's trying to leave the matrix game. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to give up the 6 in the third house, 6 being the daily responsibility. You feel me? Making sure all the bills is paid, and making sure all the asses is ate. You feel me? Chitlins as well. Making sure, you feel me, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. Make sure your checks and balances are straight. Pretty much the daily management and the constancy of action that, you feel me, not only that Mercury deals with, but the sun deals with also, right? Jupiter, he's the sage, he's the guru, he's the prophet, he's the one who's chasing God. Jupiter is not chasing worldly responsibility or maintenance and whatnot. And sun is constantly dealing with that. So this is why when the sun comes into contact with Jupiter, the quality of Jupiter kind of expanding beyond itself and expanding into the all infinite God mind, it becomes frozen, or it becomes hindered to a certain degree. Not to say that it's not possible for an individual to become self-enlightened or to seek God or to live that type of path or whatever. It's pretty much just when sun is with Jupiter, you more so will be using your Jupiter for others, right? Teaching others, being a light of an example to others, nourishing others with wisdom, nourishing others with, better code of soul conduct, ways of governing the self, ways of getting closer to the self, and being a better spiritual being, right? You'll be more so you'll show up as an authority within that particular area, right? Sun Jupiter, right? But it might be more difficult for the God journey to be enacted for the self and whatnot, right? Or for a person to feel like they had a guru, or the proper guru, or the proper individual to lead them to the higher states or whatnot, right? Yeah, Sun Jupiter is great for a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of different things. It really is. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is, Sun Jupiter can definitely give a great deal of arrogance, because Jupiter is just going to inflate the sun's natural ability to be arrogant, or to feel like he's high, or to feel like, a person is above the normal situation or whatnot. But again, you know what I'm saying, when a planet becomes combust with the sun, arrogance is the activation that leads to the downfall. Like they say, pride comes right before the downfall. The pride factor is what's going to highlight suffering due to this planet in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? I got Sun and Jupiter my damn self. And one thing that I've noticed, it's crazy. Like I've literally seen this shit happen so many times. Like, and I've just become humbled by this shit for sure. Like, I would automatically assume I was the guy who knew the most whenever I would enter a room or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? It could be anything, you know what I'm saying? I was always told I was smart as a kid and whatnot, you know, advanced. I hardly had to do any work or put in any effort towards my grades or whatnot, and was just able to pretty much float through school, minimal effort, and still excelled or whatnot, right? So, you know, that kind of gave me the complex to where, you know, I always felt like, you know, no matter what I came across, you know, I was the guy who knew the most, and I just kept coming. And that's crazy. That's a crazy statement. Kept coming is insane. I just kept entering spaces where, you know, I would believe I'm the most intelligent individual there initially, and come to find out, you know, however much of time would pass later, everybody around me, who, you feel me, was a lot smarter, was a lot more crafty, was a lot more intelligent or learned in different subjects, various subjects, you know what I'm saying?